Fortis Academy. It's a great, great opportunity. When you talk about the need for the program as it relates to the other options, when you talk about kids who are struggling with substance abuse and them having the opportunity to come to a safe environment where kids are sober and really concentrating on achieving academic success while being in sobriety versus returning to their home schools where they're having to manage those old relationships, those old friendships, having to deal with those peer pressures to return back to some of those behaviors that brought them to this point of addiction. Fortis is going to give them a second chance. It's going to give them a clean slate. It's going to give them an opportunity to really realize their best self in a safe and whole environment where we are wrapping them with a multitude of services. Not only will we have the academic component to where we're giving them that rich, deep instruction so that they can graduate and become or follow whatever pathway they choose to follow. We're going to also give them the therapeutic support, the continuum of support that would allow them to continually have conversations about their sobriety and continue to have that anchor, if you will, for someone who's there to, those moments when they're struggling, or just to even praise them when they're doing very well, to help them just remain honest and true to their commitment to sobriety.
Fortis Academy is not a rehab high school. Fortis Academy is the school that students have gone through rehab. It's the school that they will use for the recovery process. I think it's crazy for kids to successfully exit a rehab program only to go back to the very environment that led them to that dark space to begin with. Our goal is to provide an environment for them that will nurture them and protect them, to secure them and build them and make them stronger. So when they do graduate from high school, their issues of addiction are far behind them, but something that they're very cognizant of and have strategies to deal with moving forward. That's why we're calling the school Fortis Academy. It's the fort that's there for safe being, and it's going to protect you and make you stronger.
Having this new school, they'll be able to find a new social circle, build a new friendship, a new community of people that they can call friends, people that they can call on a Saturday night if they're home alone and they want to go do something, and all that they can think of is, well, I used to go do this. Now it's somebody that you can call and say, hey, do you just want to get together and hang out? Or even after school, somebody that they can hang out with or call or see that's their age, that's their peer, that they don't have to worry. The only thing that we know how to do is drugs together.
In doing our research prior to really the inception and the execution of Fortis Academy, we found that just in Harris County alone, we averaged 10,500 drug-related offenses per year. That's significant, and that number's not getting any smaller. It's actually quite frightening, especially when we realize that the primary strategy used to address the drug issues in Harris County has been through punishment. And that's where we need to, as a society, go through a paradigm shift. There's two kinds of kids. There are kids who sell drugs, and then there are kids who are using drugs. And there's far more users than sellers. You're not going to make a student stop using drugs just by punishing them. Somewhere we need to help the child.
From an academic perspective, as it relates to what separates us, we're going to have a full-scale professional kitchen. We have a culinary arts program. We're also going to have some type of technology courses. Right now we're turning our lens towards having some introductory type coding classes for kids to teach kids how to code. We're going to also have a ropes course that's going to allow us to get kids to challenge their inner selves and build that cohesiveness within the school that we need in order for kids to hold each other accountable for their sobriety. Ultimately, we're going to have a lot of great things for our kids to do that is different from what you would say a traditional model would offer. We're going to have Kindness Wednesdays, where our kids will go out into the community and show acts of kindness, whether that's through just giving flowers to people, or going to maybe a nursing home to spend time and read books, or going to an elementary school, just participating in acts of kindness.
The other thing that's interesting is that we are not, as educators, arrogant enough to think that we can help children with sobriety. Our specialty is educating children. What we've chosen to do is we've chosen to reach out to find someone to partner with us with the actual therapeutic and clinical component of the school. We put an RFP out there, and we had a number of different really well-known organizations respond, and ultimately we decided to partner with the Turning Point.
Because we have such a strong partnership with HCJPD and accessibility to these kids that are the inner city kids, the ones that really need this service, need to go to this high school, it was just a perfect match between Turning Point and Harris County Department of Education. And I think that the beautiful thing is that we both felt that. And the moment that we went in and sort of presented and introduced ourselves, everybody was on the same page. We understood both the need and the accessibility that we have to these kids. And so the partnership at this point is working wonderfully. We're building programs together. And as I mentioned earlier, the collaborative portion of this is beyond anything that I've ever seen in people that we've worked with.
What they will do is they will provide coaches and counselors that will be threaded throughout the campus along with the public educators, and we hope to blend their professionalism together to be able to bring the best service possible to the students. So the students aren't just going to a place that's drug-free and taking classes. They're going to a place that's drug-free, taking classes, and getting help with their sobriety component.
We do understand that every child may not have an interest in going to college. Every child may not have an interest in going to vocational. But most of the children, 90% of them, will have a common goal of want to stay sober. And if we have achieved that, then we have done our jobs.
I know it's going to create a tidal wave. I know that. Us being able to, number one, model how it's going to be from a public perspective, is going to lay the groundwork or the foundation for future programs, not only through Harris County, but hopefully throughout the state and throughout the nation. So having the courage from our superintendent, Mr. Colbert, to chart this pathway and to allow me the opportunity to be a part of the journey, it's going to be what they call a watershed moment. It's really going to create another model, another avenue for schools to address this issue of drug and substance abuse.
You know, I've actually been asked if this was personal for me multiple times. I would say in some ways it is. What I've found is crazy is the new normal. I don't know of a family that doesn't have some episode of either alcohol or drug addiction throughout it. The question always is how close is it to you and how damaging was it? I've personally experienced multiple family members, including, brothers, cousins, uncles, fathers who have struggled with the issues of addiction. And I've communicated with all those people who are still living, and even in the inception of Fortis Academy. And more than half of them have always said to me, if something like that existed when I was in high school, I may not be in the situation that I'm in. I can relate directly to the impact that drugs and alcohol have had on just even the core fibers of our society, and how it has broken up households and families. And I think that regardless of economic status, no family is safe of the damage that alcohol and drugs can have on it. And I've seen that full scale even from an administrative perspective. So it is personal to me because I've experienced, witnessed, seen. the impact that drugs can have on a family, but it's also personal to me because I am a professional public servant. And I embrace my role in trying to help and better our society. And I realize that I have the power, and this organization certainly has the ability to be able to positively impact our society by addressing this very epidemic right now through Fortis Academy.
Oh, it's very personal for me. Yeah, it's very personal for me. My dad was a club owner, so I grew up watching people drink to excess and be involved in what I've grown to learn now is dangerous and damaging behavior. But I'll be honest, much like some of our kids, when you grow up watching something and you never see people frame it in a way, you grow up thinking that those behaviors are okay. So it wasn't until my adulthood that I really realized that, there is a real problem with getting drunk. That is a problem. So I had to learn that those behaviors that I grew up watching, now whether my parents intended that to have the impact on me that it did or not, I believe they were just trying to be business owners at the end of the day, but the impact that it had on me and the lens that I saw or I processed what was going on was unhealthy for me. And I believe that some of our kids may be in that same environment, that they're growing up seeing behaviors that socially is being accepted or being taught as this is the norm. And in reality, those behaviors are actually damaging. So for me, it gives me an opportunity to try to clear up some of the misconceptions as it relates to some of the behaviors that we see taking place in our communities. Hopefully, through that, we will save lives and that we will help children not journey down some of these pathways to where they are 30 years old and just really figuring it out. We need to provide those opportunities now so that they can have longer and healthier relationships and work experiences. And, it's something, as I said, it's very personal for me. I've had quite a few family, I've had quite a few family members and friends. I mean, I could think back to high school and or college and watching people just fall by the wayside because of their experiences with drugs and alcohol. And I can only imagine what would have happened if they would have had this resource. If someone could identify them at the time and was like, hey man, here's an option for you. Come and try to look at things differently so that you won't have to keep being suspended, or you won't have to keep getting in trouble with your parents, or you won't have to keep running into the law, or whatever those experiences are through that pathway. If there was opportunities there, we could have, or someone could have, saved a lot of people. So I'm committed to helping as many youngsters as we can to give them a life-sustaining, life-changing experience that will allow them to be able to reach down and help someone else.